everyone, welcome back to On the Fly. Today we look at another trade between the Chicago Blackhawks and the Vegas Golden Knights, sending Marc-Andre Fleury to the Blackhawks for absolutely nothing, aside from maybe some cap space to sign a big player. I don't know why the Knights are doing this unless they do have a plan. I think a player like Landeskog would be where they're going with it, but of course it's hard to tell, and especially with Fleury being their starter, it doesn't make a lot of sense for a contending team to trade someone like that away unless they think Laner will be their starter and they'll get another backup through free agency or a trade of some sorts. But in general, I'm not a big fan of the trade in the first place. I think if they did, they could have got a lot more for Fleury. I don't think they needed to trade him away for nothing. I think they could have sent him to a team like Pittsburgh, unless, of course, he was on the no team trade clause. But I think in general, it doesn't make a lot of sense to see Fleury go at this point. I think they could have kept him. Definitely traded him to a team that actually could have used him, like a Pittsburgh, like a Boston, where they're starting to look for some goalies, and they're not really worried about the contracts. Other than that, Chicago picks up another quality goaltender. He'll kind of help out, especially with Lankinen and Subban, where those guys are a little bit younger. And with Crawford now gone and retired, I think it's important for them to have sort of that veteran leader on the team. Obviously trading out Keith as well. I think it is important to bring in players that have been there, have done that, and kind of align with the goals of a rebuilding team. Obviously, Fleury with Pittsburgh, been on that cup run, and with Vegas as well. So I think in general, it's a good trade for the Blackhawks. I think they did great. They're not really worried about the cap because they can take on those big contracts. But with Vegas, I don't know why they do this in the first place. Obviously, Vegas is a team that's contending for a playoff or a cup run rather, and I think because of that, it makes a lot of sense to keep two goaltenders. You look at a team like Boston where they have Halak and Rask, Pittsburgh where they have DeSmith and Yari, and they can rely on both with in the Leafs with Campbell and Anderson. So I think in general, you kind of need two goalies to go into a finals and a cup run. Obviously, Tampa's kind of an exception. Montreal's an exception because they got two of the best goaltenders in the world. But I think with that, I think most teams still need two goaltenders because as soon as one gets hurt or one gets banged up, the other goalie must pick up the pace. And if they don't have a quality backup, obviously they got to struggle with whoever they have in their AHL system. So to me, this trade doesn't make a lot of sense for the Knights. I think there must be another signing coming tomorrow. Obviously, free agency is right around the corner, so I think they're definitely freeing up cap. I have a feeling they will pursue a Landeskog. Obviously, he is a free agent coming tomorrow, so teams can start to talk with him. But I still think Colorado will get a deal done before the deadline goes, and because of that, I would be very surprised if Landeskog does not go back to Colorado. For Chicago, obviously it's an amazing trade. Not in the $7 million cap hit means nothing to them. Obviously they are sort of that rebuilding team, although they are starting to acquire more and more assets. Obviously they just picked up Seth Jones yesterday, picking up Caleb Jones for Duncan Keith. So obviously they are starting to use that trade a little bit more. And they're getting good deals as well. So it's not like they're trading and losing every one. Every one of their trades has mostly been wins. A little bit of an overpayment on the Seth Jones trade, but for the Caleb Jones trade, makes a lot of sense for them. And I believe that with that, they will become sort of that contending team later on. And I think Lankinen will replace Fleury eventually. And Fleury, he has one more year on his contract, so I have a feeling he'll go back to Pittsburgh after this year. Unless, of course, he decides to re-sign in Vegas. But I think in the end, he'll most likely stay in Chicago, and I think Chicago got a really good pickup. Obviously, a veteran goalie doesn't come cheap typically, unless it's Marc-Andre Fleury. So it really is a great deal for Chicago. I think they really did win this trade big time. So for the trade grade wise, I think without a doubt, the Chicago Blackhawks get an A+. Obviously, getting a veteran goaltender for free is never a bad thing. Obviously, the price is a little high for him, but I think when you actually take into account his role on the team, he'll be worth way more than $7 million alone. As for the Vegas Golden Knights, I'm going to give them two grades. I'm going to give them an F, and I'm going to would give them a B. So it's an F. They don't find a way to use that $7 million cap. I think it's just a waste of a player. I think they could have got a lot more for him. And then it'll be a B if they can sign a big name like Landeskog. I think if they get Landeskog, I think it's a B. I still don't like the trade in the first place. I think they could have got something for it. But in general, if they can free up that cap and then go out and sign a player like Landeskog, I think it's still a good trade for them. But overall, I would have liked to see them at least get a pick, even if it's a late rounder, like a 6th or a 5th. I still think they should be getting something back for Fleury instead of just nothing. But in general, I think it's a good trade for the Blackhawks, not so great for the Knights, although I will be looking for the Knights to do something big tomorrow. If you made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. If you liked it, drop a like. If you liked it, consider subscribing. Tell all your friends about it. Leave a comment down below your thoughts on the trade. Until next time, see ya.